Wagner around the edge, diving in. Touchdown, Marion, the first one. It's good. 7-0, Marion.
Had a big play here.
Traps on the handoff. He breaks loose. He's past the 50, down to about the 35, and he's knocked hard out of bounds by Riley Belev. A snap, drop back pass.
Wide open.
He's got it. That's number 4, Jordan Powers. Touchdown. Number 1 for Marion. Speed option, toss out to Wagner. It's almost, the Warriors recover on about the 34-yard line, and we got a ball game now.
All right, hello and welcome to Hogo Game Day, live from Patrick Henry High School, where the Northwood Panthers are 7-2, coming in the Hogo finale here against the Patrick Henry Rebels. Battle for third place. Very important game when you look at the playoff standings. This is Dylan Hunt along with Corey Johnston. Travis DeBusk will be joining us shortly. We've got a special guest up here with us, Coach Palmer.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming up and joining us. Corey, talk about a little bit about this game coming up tonight.
All right, well, obviously this is a pretty big matchup. Both teams are locked into the 1A West playoffs, but as far as their seeding goes, we really don't know where we're going to finish. And this game pretty much will dictate that. You've got Northwood at 7-2 coming off a pretty rough loss to Rural Retreat. They had every opportunity to lock up the Hogaheaty District with 2 wins, Rural Retreat and here at Patrick Henry. And then you got Patrick Henry, who's had somewhat of a surprising season here at 5-4, but they're ready to go tonight. And I guess the first question that we've got here, weather really hasn't slowed y'all's offense down. We talked about it last week before the game at Chilhowie, and I even said that I thought y'all would run the ball more and we wouldn't see a passing advantage. I was totally wrong, and we kept stats up here. And it was 214 yards passing, 215 yards rushing, about as balanced as it gets. As far as Northwood goes, they really don't have much of a passing offense at all, and their 2 leading rushers a little banged up tonight. Talk about what your keys are to beating Northwood and how your offense stays so balanced.
Well, we appreciate that. The keys to tonight's game, the key for us all year has been turnovers. In our 4 losses, we've had 18 turnovers. In our 5 victories, we've had 5 turnovers. So we have to protect the football to give us opportunity to be competing in the fourth quarter. Talking about our offense, we try to we're a veer team. We're going to run the triple option, but we're going to take what the defense gives us. We've got 2 kids that run the ball real well with Dakota Humphrey and Andy Cuddy. Zach Wright runs the option well. But then we also have all these talented receivers, slot guys that can do some different things. So what we want to do is find what the defense is giving us, and it might be one week we throw for 200, one week we run for 300. So and that's what we've tried to take the approach all year. Our kids are very unselfish, and it's paid dividends all year. As far as Northwood, their offense dictates the tone of the game. You can play good defense, but if you allow them to still have 4 yards a pop, they're going to drive the ball down the field, score, keep your offense off the field, and if you get 1 turnover, 1 punt, and they score again, you're playing behind, and it's the second half. So the key is that our defense have to get some stops and put our offense on the field.
We've covered a lot of Northwood's games this year, and it really seems that they're just a one-dimensional offense. We haven't seen a whole lot of passing. And as a defense, do you guys obviously the focus will be to stop the run, but do you have it in your players' mind to kind of keep that in the back of their head, don't get beat by the big pass? And is that something that you communicate to them all night, or is that just something that you say at the beginning of the game? You say, hey, guys, just remember they're not much of a passing team, but the pass could happen.
Well, the thing with their offense is after 9 games, you're so geared up to stop the run. Play action pass is a great play call. Channing Calls an outstanding quarterback. He has a strong arm. And they have a number of athletes on their team also. So if we do not respect the pass and we sell out on the run, they slip somebody behind us, then it's just really hits you in the gut and it kind of takes the wind out of your sails.
Right. we know you guys are a very efficient passing team, and Northwood's pass defense has kind of been hit or miss this year. They've got a lot of interceptions in their secondary, but they've also given up a lot of big plays. Is that something you're going to target tonight?
Well, again, we're going to line up the first play, and we're going to look to get Dakota Humphrey the football, and if they're geared up to stop him and then open up the pass, then, we might throw it every time. Again, that's just our philosophy. We're going to try to take what the defense gives us. We like being balanced. I think it helps the running game by being thrown. It also helps the running game by the respecting the pass.
Right.
Let's turn around and go back and talk about the Chilhowie game for just a second, about how well PH played in that ball game. There was a point in that game where it really could have went either way there in the second half, and PH pulled it out right there, able to score on a big play right there to Graydon Williams, and then after that, everything came a little bit easier confidence-wise. How big was that to break a streak? I mean, this year's been monumental for the young guys on this team because it's been a while since PH had won a Hogo game. Now we're talking about they've won 3 Hoga-Hickey District games. They've lost to the top 2 teams in the Hogo, beating everybody they should have. So tonight would really solidify something.
Well, we're excited about the opportunity tonight. We respect Northwood and the job Coach Praters did there and their athletes. But it has been good. Last week, our kids had played well in the first half in a close game, and we just explained to them that every week from here on out that we continue to play, they're good football teams. Every week from here on out, half times are going to be 7-7 or 14-14 or 19-14, and they have to understand we just have to play hard and keep doing what we do. And but I think last week gave us confidence.
Yeah.
It sure did.
That game was a weird game. It felt like PH was in so much control, but you waited on them to do something. It was like you waited so long, but it was still just like a 5-point game for a long amount of time.
Yeah, it did. First half, I thought we played well and be up to 19-14. It was a little.
You were pretty excited going into half whenever Delp stepped out of bounds. Coach Palmer was throwing the fist up in the air.
Well, we wanted to get out of there. We didn't want to be down at half and give them momentum going in. And we got in at halftime. We talked, and we got senior leadership and experience, and that's paid off in several games this year.
Now let's turn around and talk about this Northwood PH game last year. They held Olinger, a pretty healthy Blake Olinger. I understand he didn't play up to what he did at the start this year like he did all year last year, but held Blake Olinger to 21 yards on 18 carries, something ridiculous like that. Grant Ramey in the middle of that defense had one of his bigger games. It was probably his come-out party as far as defensively.
Well, Grant did have a big game last year, and we played really well defensively last year. But Northwood made enough plays to outscore us and beat us. But it's a new year, and I think Olinger's running better this year than he did last year.
Yeah,
when you add Doan in the mix, he's a dangerous guy that is really can hit a home run every time he touches it. You've got a couple other kids there with Turley and Tedder, and a couple kids that's they're dangerous runners. So it's going to be a great challenge.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a challenge tonight. But as far as injury concerns, I know the injuries have seemingly packed up or stacked up for Northwood. How healthy is your team going in this late in the season?
At this point in the season, we're relatively healthy. Week 10 or 11, but game 10, we're like where we're at, and we're not nursing anything, and we just hope to come through tonight healthy so that next week in playoffs we can be at full strength.
And this is a PH team that had 2 players of the week this week, and it was a pretty unique circumstance. We usually don't get that. WCYB player of the week was Dakota Humphrey. He had 165 yards on 20 carries and 2 TDs. And your Hogo.com player of the week was Zach Wright, voted by the group there. Zach Wright was 9 for 14 passing, 201 yards, 2 TDs, and 1 rushing touchdown. It doesn't get any better than that as a coach to have those kind of weapons. And Graydon Williams could have probably been in the talk.
He could have been. He had a big night. It was just a team effort, and offensive line blocked extremely well for everything we did, throwing and running.
Yeah, Dakota seemed like he was very thankful for his offensive line. How cool was that having WCYB up here?
Well, that's a good experience for our kids. They got to see themselves on television, and that's kids love that stuff. And I'm real happy for Dakota, and equally happy for the team because it was given to Dakota, but it's a team award because everybody played well and blocked well to spring it.
That was a true team win against Chilhowie, too. It wasn't like one guy really took over the game. Zach was very efficient with the way he was as far as running when he needed to, not only when he had to, but when he needed to. And y'all do a good job mixing that up. But as far as that, will we see? We got Humphreys healthy. Cuddy, we're going to see a little bit more Cuddy tonight.
Well, again, he's slowly snuck in there with the yardage he has after missing the first 3 games, and he's had a pretty solid season. In 7 games, he's probably about halfway through what he was last year with tonight to go. So interesting to see what he can do.
Yeah, it's going to be a pretty fun night here. Well, Coach, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
We'll let you head on back down and get ready. We would let you stay up here longer, but I know you got to get ready.
Well, I better go coach. I might have a job.
It's fun up here, though. Yeah, but thank you, Coach. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We'll be right back with the rest of the show. Join us after the break. Where's Will? We'd like to thank all of our listeners here on the Hoga Network and remind them to stop by HogoGameDay.com for the latest on all your Hoga teams. That is HOGO GameDay.com, partnered with HogaHiggy.com, the worldwide leader in Hogo sports.
Parts, sales, and service, that's our motto down here at Abingdon Equipment. We have new and used quality farm equipment at great prices. We also have a large selection of salvage, professional service and repair, in-store parts for your equipment. Come on down and see us on Lee Highway in Abingdon, Virginia. Our store hours are Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Also, give us a call at 276-628-2372, a proud sponsor of the Hoga Network.
The Hogo Game of the Week is provided by Abingdon Equipment, Appalachian Plastics, Big M Farm Service, Carter's Pharmacy, Glade Pharmacy, Political Dogs, Serber & Son. Make sure you watch and listen at HogoGameDay.com.
Welcome back to Patrick Henry High School. It's Hogo Game Day presented by Abingdon Equipment and Lowe's Home Improvement Warehouse. Getting ready for this week's Hogo Game of the Week. It's the Patrick Henry Rebels play host to the visiting Northwood Panthers. And it's cold again tonight. This makes 3 Friday nights in a row we've had a cold game. So
it is cold.
It's definitely football weather. Longing for some of those 90-degree nights we had back early in the season. Those would be nice.
You know, we really could have went anywhere tonight. When you look at the Hogo slate today, we've got, obviously, we're at Northwood at Patrick Henry. George with Rural Retreat, that one's expected to be a big one now since Rural Retreat's upset against Northwood last week. Marion at Abingdon, this may be one of the higher scoring games we see. And then Chilhowie and Holston, that was a rematch of the Hoga championship game last year. Obviously, there's not a whole lot of implications in that game, but you got 2 1-8 teams. And who knows, that could be a good game.
Yeah, they seem to match up pretty evenly on paper. It's amazing. You talk about the turnaround from last season. These teams were playing for it all last year. Now they're just playing for pride tonight. One team wants to finish with – they both want to finish with at least 2 wins, so they've both got something to play for. You touched on that Marion-Abingdon game. We'll be making our picks later on tonight. But I tell you, I still a little bit iffy on Abingdon. I'm sold on Marion.
We talked about that before you got up here, and I think the thing is the Abingdon, when you look at their season and you talk about their key wins, beating Richlands was a big deal, but their loss against Gate City, I think everybody's got that as the question mark right now. And when you look at this Marion team, we've watched them a couple times this year. They're a solid all-around team, and I think if Abingdon comes in a little overconfident on that, I think that Marion can really smack them in the mouth and really get it going. Yep. But, I mean, as far as our picks go, we'll pick those later. But I think with Abingdon, there's a lot of people out there with question marks. You know, I've talked to a lot of people that said, if we only had that Gate City game back, I'm not sure that they were good enough to beat Gate City. But as far as the rest of their schedule goes, with the way they played Gate City, maybe they should be 8-1. But as far as playing a high quality team like Marion, I don't know if they can get over the hump on that.
Yeah, you know, they struggled. They struggled in the game against Chilhowie. They struggled against Lebanon. And Lebanon's not a very good team at this point in the season either. So yeah, I think the verdict's still out on Abingdon. But yeah, Marion's playing lights out. In their last 6 games, Marion's averaging over 48 points in all 6 of those outings, and they're only giving up just under 13. So
this matchup is a Super 7 matchup.
Yeah.
3 versus 4 from the Bristol Herald Courier. So
it's going to be an interesting
game.
It'll be fun. But I think we're talking about we're talking a lot about Abingdon, who they have lost to and who they haven't beat. But when you look back at Marion, really, I mean, Chilhowie played them pretty well. We were at that game the first week. I know we can't go back and compare too much. If you put too much light on the matchups, this would be a blowout tonight. We shouldn't be here. But if we talk about who Marion's beat, I mean, Union, they really haven't really panned out to what I think tonight we see who the top
last
team
week,
is.
They're not a very good team either.
This game will really dictate.
This is the signature win for both those teams.
Right.
Abingdon had the Richlands win. We'll see if they can get over that. Marion's a different beast.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, boys.
But Raekwon Jordan and that offense for Abingdon, don't sleep on them.
It's a high-power offense. I mean, this could really be a very high-scoring game. I'm not sure either defense is ready for the offense of the other. And then we got to talk about Marion's special teams. Marion's special teams was light out against Patrick Henry when we watched them. So you always got to throw that in there. You know, that could be how the game's decided. Special teams could decide this game.
Yeah, it could be a very important game. Let's turn back the page here, take a step back and talk about this PH Northwood game. Stipulations again, in case you weren't here at the opening. Winner gets 3rd, loser falls to 4th, and the home playoff game could very well be on the line for either one of these teams at least. And for Northwood, it'd be a really detrimental loss to lose 2 straight after such a great start.
It would basically be them falling in 2 weeks from winning the Hogo to finishing 4th in the Hogo, and possibly falling all the way to 7th in the 1A West.
Yeah.
Now, we'll have to see how that dictates out. We've kind of looked at the way the points are, and it really depends on who beats who. You know, that George Witherell Retreat game tonight, that's a big one. The Covington matchup, that's another big one. So, you know, we'll have to see how all that pans out. If Northwood is to lose this game, the way that we've kind of looked at it, I think they would fall to 6th as far as Patrick Henry winning this game. Depending on what the Covington matchup goes, they could be as high as 11th.
This may sound cliche, but, you know, it really comes down to tonight is can Northwood handle adversity after dropping that game last week? And can Patrick Henry handle success after their big win last week?
Right.
We thought we were sold on Patrick Henry when we were here to watch them play Marion following a couple of good weeks where they really, you know, progressed very well on offense. Then we watched that Marion game, and they just turned around and ran backwards.
Yeah, tonight I think we're going to see how tough PH can be. It's not going to be a game where you get 6 or 7 possessions in the first half. PH is going to have to be they're going to have to take advantage of each possession they have. They haven't done a very good job of that. Last week against Chilhowie, they did a fantastic job of it. But if you make a mistake against this Northwood defense, watch out. Because if they get the ball, the only issue this week with the banged-up players on their side, can they get into those situations where it's 3rd down and short or 4th down and short, which they'll go for? Can they get there? Without a fully healthy Doan, we've been told he's going to play. But, you know, there's always that question mark.
Well, we know he's not 100%. No way.
They haven't set a player that's been injured all year. Why would they do it now?
Right.
And like we were talking about, if they were going to not play Olinger and rest him for the playoffs, they would have done it way before now.
I think when you look at the obvious on this game, you've got a very efficient, time-consuming Northwood offense against a hard-pounding, very improved Patrick Henry defense. And you can kind of say that's the obvious matchup tonight. But one of my keys tonight that I've got here is Northwood's pass defense against Patrick Henry's passing offense. We talked all year about how Northwood's pass defense is efficient. They've got a lot of interceptions in the secondary. But when we were at the George Wythe Northwood game, we saw how George Wythe exposed that pass defense and kind of used that under route. And we'll just have to see how Patrick Henry plays that tonight, because obviously they'll both be watching film this week on how to play the other. But we saw last week, and even I made the comment before the game last week, that I thought the weather would hurt Patrick Henry's passing offense, and it didn't. Well, tonight's a pretty clear night, a little chilly, and I think Patrick Henry's going to be as balanced as they were last week. And I think Northwood's defense, the key here, they've got to be ready.
Yeah, you're right. We've seen that a lot from Patrick Henry Friday night. They were able to, against Chilhowie, they were able to hit that under route, got a couple of inside slants. Yeah, Northwood hasn't been able to defend those in the games that we've seen.
Well, when you look at Northwood, they're built to stop the run inside. The safeties play the pass very well because they sell out to stop the run. I think tonight they won't have an issue with Humphrey at the start.
Right.
I think PH opening up the game early in the passing game will be a big advantage. If Wright is as efficient as he was last week that got him the HogoHiggy.com Player of the Week, then they'll win this ball game in a pretty big fashion. But that's if Wright plays well, and it's if PH comes out and tries that attack. If they come out and try to pound it with Humphrey and get yards, they might win this game by 3 or 4 points. And then we talked about this too. We saw Graydon Williams out here kicking before the game early in here in warm-ups, making 30-yarders right down the middle. That's an asset that Northwood does not have, is a kicker.
Boy, wouldn't you like to call a game this season, though, that comes down to a field goal?
Wouldn't
that be exciting?
That would be a great way to end the season. And, this is our last regular season game here. But to go back with what we talked about with this George Wythe Northwood matchup, I think the tone that George Wythe set early in the game was to spread that defense out, get those guys out of the box, and that was how they beat them. We saw Northwood drive down the field, take a lot of time off the clock, and not get any points out of it. And then George Wythe popped off a couple pass plays, couple big runs, and they were in the end zone. And another thing that complements that is that if Patrick Henry can get a lead early, Northwood has no passing game to get back into. We watched in that George Wythe game, and we all kind of sat there looking at our watches like, they're running out of time, and they're not going to a pass game. And I think that was how the game ended up being dictated.
Northwood trailed to Holston 7-0. That's the only time this year they've come back from behind. In every other game they've led, except for their 2 losses. So they've only been able to prove on one occasion this year they could come from behind to score.
And in the PHs, if they come out and score opening, that'll be interesting to see. But another thing, talking about George Wythe, Patrick Henry has something George Wythe doesn't have. George Wythe has speedy guys. They have Trey Skeens and Trey Skeens and Darius Moore there. But PH has Graydon Williams. They don't have George Wythe doesn't have that 6'5" wide receiver that can go up and get it. The tallest guy in the secondary for Northwood is 6 foot tall. They have 2 6-foot tall kids. Other than that, Graydon Williams is 6 inches taller than anybody in that secondary. That is huge. Zach Wright over the middle. This could be a pretty dominant performance by Patrick Henry's wide receivers. They have so much talent at the wide receiver position. When you think about Caleb Boyd, Kent Kestner, Alex Davenport, a lot of weapons. Can they use them early and open up?
That puts a lot of pressure on Wright, though. I agree the receivers can get open. We've seen that a couple times, too. But when he's off, when Zach Wright's off, he's off.
Yep.
Marion Game's a good example.
When he gets
plenty of
rattled,
times that the receivers were open, and he wasn't able to get the ball to him.
That's how Northwood makes their living, though. They get to the quarterback. They force turnovers. That's how their secondary has been so good. But just to complement that, just what you said, Patrick Henry knows how to spread the ball around. They've got 4 very good receivers. And when you talk about touchdown catches this year, Boyd, Williams, Kestner, they all have 2 apiece. So they know how to spread the ball around.
They
They've
spread
got
the
multiple
wealth,
weapons. Yeah. So we'll just have to see how they dictate the game tonight. Okay, I got a question for you guys. If Patrick Henry wins the toss, do you want the ball or do you defer to the second half?
I would defer.
I'm taking the ball. Because I think if you can hang a touchdown on Northwood early, then they're
Travis
scrambling
on this one. I think I think if you can make that early statement and take that early lead and get Northwood on the fences already, I think that says more than getting the ball in the second half.
I think that's
I
Northwood's
kind of
big
like
thing.
to have the idea, though, that, you don't really know what you're going to see from Northwood, and you really want to give them a chance to maybe not fill out the opponent as much. Maybe if you kick it to them, they won't have an idea of what PH is going to try
I don't
to
know.
do.
If you've watched enough game film, though, you pretty much know what you're going to get from Northwood. Their game plan hasn't changed all season.
Kind of predictable. I mean, it's going to be a run offense, and you've got what you got, really. I mean, we haven't seen much passing at all, and even way down into the last few minutes of that George Wythe game, we saw a couple incomplete passes, but it was never a commitment to try to pass the ball for Northwood.
But, if you turn around, just to back up sort of what I'm trying to get with taking the ball at halftime, if you turn around and you're trailing at the half of your PH, let's just say they're down 7-0, let's say you got to kick it back off to Northwood. Northwood takes the ball, gets a couple first downs. There's 8 minutes off the clock to open. Would you rather start the second half knowing you have the ball and you know when you're going to get it, other than being sort of crammed up for time?
That's the other side of looking at it.
It is, and it basically what we and Travis were saying. It depends on how that first drive goes.
Yeah.
If Patrick Henry comes out, takes the ball,
If
and
they
it's a
do.
3 and out, and they flop, then you're saying, okay, well, we were totally wrong. But if Patrick Henry goes down the field, gets a quick 6 on the board, we'll say 7, and Northwood gets a 3 and out, you're looking at a 2-possession game early in the game if Northwood can't dictate that clock. But that's what they do best. They run the time off the clock. They dictate the game early, and you want to make that statement early.
Both of these teams tonight, though, wouldn't you say, win or lose, they've got to chalk this season up as a success. Even Patrick Henry, if they come out of here 5-5, it's a pretty good year for these guys.
Either team is very happy with where they're at, but they'll be disappointed tonight if they don't make it off the field with a win.
Well, they'll be disappointed, but all you got to do is get in that tournament, and they're in. So
I think either way, both teams are going to look back on one game in their season. I think Patrick Henry will look at that Thomas Walker game and say,
maybe battle.
We gave that one away, or the battle game.
I think, you go back to PH. How much neater would this matchup be if PH just had 2 losses?
That's a big deal there. But I think when you look at Northwood's side, George Wythe, maybe they just got outplayed that night. But as far as the rural retreat game, I think that's the one they're going to look back and say, this was it. We had this wrapped up. All we had to do was get 2 more wins, and we could have won this thing. But that Thomas Walker game for Patrick Henry, they're kicking themselves over that one. They basically handed that game to Thomas Walker. But either way, we've got a great matchup tonight.
Yeah, we got 2 teams, one coming off a loss, one coming off a hard-fought win, one that hadn't came against Chilhowie since 2003. So, PH, it's been a year for breaking streaks. Let's go ahead and turn and look at, I was talking about stipulations there. Patrick Henry is currently 14th. Northwood is currently 3rd in the 1A West. Right now, the 2 are projected to be playing in the first playoff game, and it will be at Northwood. We'll get you more of that later on. Let's turn to Travis to sort of get an idea of what we're looking at weather-wise. We'll give him a couple more chances to try to get this weather right this year.
Well, it's probably a 3 hot chocolate night. We got
good.
the windows closed in here right now, but we'll be opening those up at game time, and we'll watch.
Will you?
We'll watch Corey's beard freeze up over there, and yeah, we got to get out there in the elements with our people, man. We can't just sit in here and be warm. But
crazy.
Kickoff temperature is going to still be just hovering around 40 degrees. It's going to feel a whole lot colder than that. Wind chill going to be down in the low 30s. By the time we wrap this game up, the actual temperature is going to be in the low 30s. It's going to be a clear, cold night, but a great night for high school football.
Hey, we wouldn't have it any other way, would we?
I'm just anxious to get to our predictions and see if Travis takes Chilhowie again.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Let's go ahead and recap players of the week. Last week, your Hogo.com player of the week was Zach Wright, 9 for 14 passing. Rebel QB had 201 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, and also had 1 rushing touchdown. Your WCYB player of the week was Dakota Humphrey, running back for the Rebels, 165 yards, 20 carries for 2 touchdowns. Probably the first time in a long time, maybe ever, 2 PH players have won player of the week honors.
Well, Humphreys averaged just a little over 8 yards a carry the other night, so that was a pretty good stat number. But I was surprised when I seen that he won Channel 5 player of the week, because I still think Zach Wright was the man of the game
I agree.
the other night. I thought he really was the fuel that led Patrick Henry to that victory. But congratulations to both these guys. Both those awards are a nice thing to win.
And just to touch on that, Patrick Henry has a 1,000-yard rusher and a 1,000-yard passer, and I'm not sure the last time that happened. I couldn't find a stat line on that one.
That's pretty impressive.
It is official that Zach Wright has over 1,000 passing yards, and Humphreys has a little over 1,300 yards.
And even in this district, which is a running district, so to have 1,000 yards passing is pretty impressive.
That's
yeah,
very big.
You really don't notice. I think he's one of the more underrated QBs around. Zach Wright's a real special player to have here at PH. Let's do a season in review for the Northwood Panthers. Started off to that hot 6-0 start, took the papers and everybody by storm, took us by storm. By an end, they're 1-2 since. Injury to Olinger has left a void, it feels like, on the offense. He's not the same power back he was before. Now we got a little bit of question about Doan turning to PH for the season in review. An ice-cold start, getting upset by Thomas Walker. Been spotty at best on offense in their losses. And the other losses, of course, at Battle. Those are two really bad losses. Then Marion and George Wythe, those are two talented teams. You would like to see them put up a little bit more of a fight. But still, those are two games that not a lot of teams are going to go in and win, even if you're a real good team.
And we talked to Coach Palmer in our interview. He said in his losses this year, they've had 18 turnovers. In their wins, they've had 5. So that obviously tells the tale in the season right there. If you eliminate the turnovers, we could be talking about 2 7-2 teams.
Yeah, the two coaches are meeting there in the middle of the field. And both of these teams, usually this game has no stipulation. Usually it's near the bottom. This is a game that's going to depict really the winner of the middle tier, in my opinion.
Right, yeah.
You got your two upper, I hate to be like that, but, George Wythe and Marion are the teams. They have been. Well, since Marion joined, of course, they're 2A, so it makes them a little bit tough. And George Wythe's been at the top for so long that, it's almost crazy to even, you put yourself in a spot to where you can compete for a championship.
I know a lot of people on our message boards, on our Facebook board, they've complained about Marion being in the Hoagahee district and coming in here and getting the win. But let's think about it. Marion didn't win it last season. And they wouldn't have won it this year had Northwood not collapsed. So, Marion's been given the district title this season. So, I don't really have a problem with Marion playing in the
I don't either.
I don't think it's good for these guys to get that competition.
Absolutely.
Northwood beat them.
More power to Marion if they want to play these teams. I understand the gas issue, but the non-district teams you're playing are the same teams you were playing. That's not a big deal. You can get that ironed out later on in a few years. I think that's what a lot of people have.
Yeah, we got realignment
with.
coming up again next season. After next season,
we saw even before they were in the Hoagahee, they were playing Northwood and Chilhowie every year. Kind of like Patrick Henry played Abingdon every year, and kind of like how they still play John Battle every year. So I don't have any issue with anything like that.
Yeah, it's a competition level. You got two rivals in the Hoagahee. Go ahead and join, man. We're glad to have you. Let's go ahead and look at last week's scores around the district. Patrick Henry traveled to Chilhowie. We were there to bring that ball game to you. PH won that game late, 40-14. Pulled away in the second half for a big win, first time since '03. Rural Retreat traveled to Northwood to take on the Panthers. Rural Retreat was upset by Holston the previous week. Had a little upset special of their own in Saltville. Defeated Northwood by 11 points, 33-22, and that cost Northwood the Hogo title. So that was a big deal. Virginia High traveled to Marion and got throttled. Marion put them in their place 42-7. So a big win again for Marion. Another huge offensive show. Holston traveled to George Wythe. George Wythe defeated the Cavaliers 49-14. Now as we turn and look at the playoff picture, we've got 5 teams in at this point, 2 teams that are out for good, no chance of crawling back in for Chilhowie and Holston. Your in teams right now are number 3 in the 1A West, Northwood, number 5 George Wythe, number 12 Rural Retreat, number 14 Patrick Henry, and 2A West you've got number 4 Marion, and then you've got the matchups.
Right. And I honestly, this 1A West playoff situation is down to 17 teams. There's 17 teams for 16 spots. Eastern Montgomery is the only team that can get in, and East Side's the only team that can drop out from what we're seeing here as far as the points go. But, man, we've got a heck of a matchup in the 1A West here. It's the last time that Hayside and Honaker will play a regular season game, and they're number 1 and number 2 in the 1A West, 9-0 and 8-1, and this one's going to be at Honaker. Boys, wouldn't you like to broadcast that game?
Oh, yeah.
That'd be a fun one.
Oh, we'd be all mixed up. Tigers and Tigers.
Yeah, Tigers and Tigers
Yeah,
for the last time in the regular season.
That's going to be an impressive ballgame.
What a way to go out.
Turn
Play a
around.
rival.
Let's look at what I thought was weird, the matchups. If everything's done the way they are tonight, the number 14 Rebels will travel to Saltville to face the number 3 Panthers. That's the game we're at tonight, fellas.
Right. We would just swap locations.
Yeah.
And
then
it's still possible that we could get to that.
And then you
Even
got
with a win or loss either way tonight. We could still get to that point.
and another playoff thing that could happen. Number 12 will retreat at number 5 George Wythe.
Another
So we
back-to-back
rematch of
rematch.
tonight,
Isn't
too.
that bad? Isn't
That's
that bad?
a rematch tonight, too.
That's bad for the Hoga-Higgy, though. If that happens like that, your own teams are eliminating your own.
Well,
teams.
here's one thing, though. At least if that does pan out,
You're
we're
gonna get a
guaranteed
win.
2 wins.
Yeah,
which
that's
we
true.
didn't get last season.
We didn't
Right.
get a win. Number 13, Wise Central, is still slated to take on number 4, Marion, if everything stays the same, which I'm sure they won't. They never do. So we'll see how that works out. Let's go ahead and go to the keys to the game here.
I just know this. I want Corey's playoff matchups on my desk in the morning.
Yeah, I
he
do
goes
too.
home tonight. He needs to crunch all the numbers. We're going to have it figured out before the Virginia High School League does.
I can do it, boys. I'll stay up all night. I'll get it.
Hey, he's a hard worker, Corey is. Let's go ahead and do keys to the game for Northwood at Patrick Henry. Here, let's start with Northwood. These are keys in my opinion, so y'all feel free to throw in your 2 bits too. My 3 keys for Northwood. Call will have to pass, I feel like. More pressure than ever on him as a player with the lack of a run game truly this week. Because of Olinger and Doan being banged up, I think that we'll have to turn to Call. Maybe not in the passing game, but he's going to have to run a little bit more than he usually does. And expect to see a lot of attempts by Northwood to get to the edge instead of pounding up the middle. We'll see Doan. We'll see Olinger tonight, but how much? There's going to be some speed sweeps we'll see in that. Can PH get to the edge? They did a good job last week against Chilhowie. Can they do it this week against the Panthers? And my 3rd key, defensively, this secondary that we've had so much praise for got gashed against Rural Retreat and got gashed against George Wythe across the middle. Tonight, they've got a different matchup that they've never had. A 6'6" wide receiver at PH, Graydon Williams, not to mention all the other athletes. And a Panther secondary that has 12 interceptions this year. Williams is, like I said earlier, a full 6 inches taller than the tallest secondary defender. That's a completely
That's a huge matchup.
one-sided matchup for PH if they can take advantage of it.
If Call can do it, if he can deliver the ball deep, we seen Patrick Henry a couple times last week get beat deep. Delp wasn't able to get the ball there to him, but and Patrick Henry committed several pass interference calls too, reaching out and grabbing the receiver. So take a chance and throw it out there deep. This game may be won defensively because Patrick Henry comes into this game averaging 34 points per game. Northwood comes in averaging 35 points per game. I think Northwood only averages giving up 12, or Patrick Henry averages giving up 16. So
it's going to be on paper. It looks good.
It does, yeah.
You got your keys for Northwood.
I do. Northwood's leading rushers are banged up at best. Okay, we've seen the injury to Olinger this year, and we've got Doan here. He is going to play, from what we're hearing, a sore foot. But we've talked about Northwood's one-dimensional offense. I think you're right. I think Call's going to have to try to pass the ball tonight. And what Travis said, he's got it on his sheet just like I do mine. Northwood's not a comeback team. If they get down early, they take so much time off the clock running the ball that it hurts themselves in a comeback attempt because they don't have much.
If they don't
game.
score, as much as we talk about other teams having to take advantage of the time they have the ball, Northwood has to take advantage of the time of the ball because they force it on themselves. They could be like any other team and rush to the line of scrimmage.
They've got to end those long drives in points.
Yeah, an 8-minute, 60-yard drive does you absolutely no good to flip the field if you don't get any points out of it.
Exactly.
And flipping the field against offenses like Patrick Henry and George Wythe and some of these teams that are pretty capable, it'll bounce back on you. They can get flipped back pretty quickly with these playmakers. Now let's turn to the keys for Patrick Henry. My keys: let Humphrey and Cuddy blast away at that defensive front. Last week, Stone Mullins and Nolan Ryan had a big night there. Let's see how many yards. 189 yards on 39 carries. I don't think we'll see that high of a number tonight. We could. PH could do it. But let Cuddy and then blast away at that defensive front. And then let's turn around and another thing for PH, like Coach Palmer says, we want to put our team in a position where we throw it when we want to, not just when we have to. When does PH feel like they have to? Will they try to spread out? I think PH's best chance to win this game handily, like they want to, most likely before the playoffs start, and get some guys some rest. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I'm saying it could happen off of play action, or throw the ball to open up running lanes for Humphrey, because Humphrey, I'm anxious to see that at the start of this game. Can PH take advantage of the passing game that they have and open up some spots? Defensively for the Rebels, defensive coordinator Tim Burke preaches that everyone makes the right reads tonight. Will be tested. These defensive ends for PH will have to make the right decisions on these counters and all this motion that's going on within the Northwood backfield. I'm anxious to see the linebacking core, Ramey and Humphrey, Cuddy, all those guys against the ground and pound rushing attack. PH hasn't faced a running game like this all year, nor will they in the playoffs unless they play them again. Northwood's a one-of-a-kind team, and we'll see tonight. And one-of-a-kind might be good, but it can also show its weaknesses.
I think what we're looking at is you got to keep that balance. We've seen it all year in the games that Patrick Henry's won. They've had a good balance of run and pass. And I think you have to keep that balance, but I think you said it there. Spread them out. You know, when when they've got 8 in the box right there, they can stop anybody's run.
Pass to set up the run.
Right. If you can spread them out and spread that secondary out and even run the ball in that set. You know, we see Patrick Henry go to that heavy set sometimes, and I think that may not be an advantage to them tonight. Maybe down on the goal line set or something like that. But as far as like in the field, I think the more they spread the ball out, I think the better it'll be.
And you know what I think would really help PH? A 5-wide set. Come out 5 wide and see what they do. Set up the pass, or pass to set up the run. Flip the script. You know what Northwood's going to do? They hop on that Smith County bus. They're coming this way. What are they going to do? They're going to run the ball. 4th down, what are they going to do?
They're going to run the ball.
They're going to run the ball. If they pass it, they're going to throw it to their tight end.
Well, Northwood comes out and loads the box, though, and PH spreads everybody out wide. Then you got another problem. Does Wright have enough time to deliver the ball?
Right.
But all it takes is an out route to Alex Davenport or some of those wide receivers.
If you've got time to get it.
If you got time, it's going to be.
Yeah, it's got to have time to develop.
Let's turn. It's our favorite part. Games tonight. Our picks. You ready?
Yep.
Let's go to the battle of the cellar dwellers. I hate to say that. These two teams were playing for the Hoga-Higgy Championship last year. This year they've combined for just 2 wins. We can argue that Holston has the better win. Holston beat Rural Retreat 2 weeks ago, and Chilhowie beat J.I. Burton.
We're talking about 2 teams that were 14-6 combined last year. They're 2-16 this year. So I mean, it's a tough matchup either way. Neither team has anything to play for. They're both already eliminated from the playoffs, but I'm going with Holston.
I'll tell you, I didn't know you was already going to pick. Hold on. Chilhowie has never lost 8 games in the modern football era.
Right. With that loss last week, that locked in the worst season in Chilhowie football history.
Travis has picked Chilhowie every week. He's been wrong 8 times. What happens?
But I was right on that win over Burton. I mean, I hit that. None of the rest of you picked that.
No.
I took Chilhowie to beat Burton. No, you didn't. I'm a one-man show.
You are.
Yeah.
You're the one-man.
Hey, listen, Chilhowie will make anybody look good, okay? And tonight, they're going to make me look good because I'm taking the Warriors.
Wow.
Dang it, every week.
Holston. I'm sticking with Holston in this.
You know what?
I got 35-34 on this game.
It's not that close. Chilhowie wins this thing going away, 42-14.
Wow.
It's going to be fun. I think Seth Thomas.
You picked the right game because if we were over there, it was going to be a blowout.
The game's at Holston.
At Holston, yes.
Does that matter at all to me? No. I think Chilhowie wins this ball game. They're too physical. That
hey, don't leave me hanging, brother.
Defensive front for Chilhowie wins it for him. I don't think Holston's tough enough. I think it could be a shootout if Chilhowie wants it to be, and if it becomes a shootout, Chilhowie won't be able to hang. It'll have to be low scoring for Chilhowie to win the ball game. I've got Chilhowie though.
Yeah, you can't pick Chilhowie and then set all these stipulations on how they're going. What's got to happen to win? You got to say they're going to win, and you got to believe they're going to win.
They're going to win.
There you go.
You guys are going to pick Chilhowie after Holston upset a Rural Retreat team that beat Northwood last week.
Yeah, well, if we go to doing that, it's going to get complicated quick.
I'm making it complicated.
You're going to be like Andy last week during the halftime show. Never pick against the Pac-12 team at home.
You know what? He was exactly right.
He was.
Every one of them except the team that he took away. Utah lost. He should have took the home team.
That's why we make
Boys,
him our West Coast guru.
I'm glad that y'all watch the West Coast games.
Hey, and Andy, we hope you guys tuned in tonight. Andy's not with us
you better
tonight.
Be
He's
listening
up there,
to
so
us,
you better
Andy.
be listening.
Will
We're giving you
here's-
some props.
Yeah, Will's here taking his job 1 minute at a time.
Hey, where there's a will, there's a way.
That's the way it goes. There ain't a good quote for Andy, so we'll have to come up with one. We like you, Andy. We wish you was up here with us. We'll probably need more hot chocolate. All right, let's turn to the second game. We need to speed this up a little bit. George Wythe at Rural Retreat battle for Wythe County. George Wythe better watch out. Chris Akers' squad is in an upset mood. Which Rural Retreat team shows up?
You know, I'm not sure on this one. I debated it just about all day, and I've got George Wythe winning, and I think I'm going to stick with that. But Rural Retreat is on a very big high right now, knocking off Northwood. You know, and it's a battle. It's an in-county battle. It's one of those last game of the season rivalry games. I think it can go either way, but I'm going to take George Wythe in it.
Yeah, I'm going to take the George Wythe Rocky Maroons, but it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a grinded out game. I think George Wythe wins it late, 35-21.
That's good.
I got 35-28. That's close.
I think it'll be a close game, but I'm going to go with the other direction. I've got George Wythe winning it big. I think Darius Moore and that offense to get it done. And I think George Wythe doesn't have any problem. Rural Retreat might be thinking a little bit too much about last week's win. One-dimensional is not George Wythe. They'll throw the football.
They can go either way.
All right, now our what I consider the greatest game in Southwest Virginia tonight, old school Southwest District showdown. 8-1 Marion at 8-1 Abingdon, rivalry game. In case you missed it, there was a big Twitter post today about Marion on Abingdon's student section fan site. Rivals square off in the best matchup in Southwest Virginia. Raekwon Jordan versus Sam Wagner. Falcons, Hurricanes. Do they tame the storm?
I'm going to disagree with you. I think the Honaker-Hayside game is the best game tonight as far as that goes. But, man, this game's exciting. And I think there'll be a lot of points scored. I think both offenses are very high-powered. I think it could be a huge game. I've got 28-27, but it's going to be higher than that. I'm thinking like 50-49 is what I'm thinking. And I think Marion will get them. Hey, I was close on my Oregon's.
You got
Oregon,
Marion?
West Virginia. Or, I'm sorry, no.
You got Marion?
I got Marion, yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse like it. I mean, I've already rolled up on Abingdon. I think Marion's going to win it. It's going to be a good game. I don't think it'll be as close as what Corey's got it. I think Marion wins in a fairly high-scoring affair, though. They win 49-35.
Y'all got some high-scoring games. I've got Marion 28-21.
Whoa, a little bit lower scoring there.
Boys, points are hard to come by.
They are, but these two offenses are so high-powered. And I'm just not sure that Abingdon is ready for the way that Marion runs the ball. I don't think they've seen anything quite like that. That's it.
It's going to be a grinded-out type game.
It really will.
Now we're here. The what could have been game is what I've dubbed this one. What it could have been. It could have been a one-loss Northwood versus a two-loss Patrick Henry. Instead, here we sit, 7-2 Northwood, 5-4 Patrick Henry. Both teams had so much hope going into this season. Patrick Henry had 15 seniors. Northwood finally had a healthy Blake Olinger. Third place game, though. A lot on the line for both these teams, especially moving in the next season, confidence-wise. Who you got, Smith County or Washington?
Okay, Patrick Henry's got a lot of seniors. It's an emotional night. There's a lot of leadership on this team, and they want a winning season. A 500 season's great, but a winning season's better. Northwood, your top two rushers that you've leaned on all year are a little banged up. Northwood's got a lot going in this game. They want to lock up that third spot in the West. But they're coming off a tough, disappointing loss to Rural Retreat. I've got Patrick Henry in this one, guys. I've got him actually 34-22.
So you've got PH. I'll go ahead and make my pick. I'm going to agree with you. I think the loss last week, had Northwood won that game, I think confidence would have been a whole lot higher. With Doan going out and we really not knowing his status, we understand he's going to play.
Yep.
But we saw Olinger play against George Wythe. That's not the same Blake Olinger. And with that ACL injury, I think the loss last week was detrimental to Northwood. They don't get over it tonight. And I think Patrick Henry wins this ball game 35-14. I think PH's passing game's a difference. And I don't think Northwood's going to come out and own the clock. I think PH's defense is going to be able to make some stops. I could be wrong. It could be low scoring, but that's my prediction.
Well, I think Northwood's going to come out tonight, and they want to make a statement. You know, they got behind early in that game last week, but they did mount a comeback towards the end. And once they woke up and realized what was going on, they brought it. So one could argue they did play one good half of football last week. Patrick Henry is loaded with seniors. They've got 15 seniors, but, you know, we've seen a lot of underclassmen contribute for Patrick Henry this season. PH is probably deeper. You know, they've got like I said, they've used a lot of guys. Northwood pretty much leans on the same horses. It's all about confidence. Patrick Henry's coming in here riding a high. Northwood's coming in here a little bit flat. It's a home game for the Rebels. I think I'm going to take PH, but I think it's going to be a close one. 22-18.
Yeah, it's a pretty close ball game there. Yeah, you can tell the Northwood side, maybe everybody's in Saltville listening to us. It's a cold night, though, so really
I'll
not.
tell you what, though, the last time we all three picked the same team, it didn't work out too well.
It didn't, so we're sorry, Coach Palmer and the Rebels, because
just in case.
Panthers might get you.
Put a little disclaimer in right there.
Yeah.
But with that, I hope you all enjoyed our pregame show. Had a good talk with Coach Palmer there at the beginning. He's pretty confident in his football team, but is aware of the dangers that lurk in this murky water in Saltville. So it's going to be a fun night, cool night. So we'll be up here. Join us at 7:15 for the live game broadcast. Last note.
Yeah, before we sign off, in case we forget to mention it during our live game broadcast, what an exciting season. First time doing this, a lot of fun. Want to thank Dylan for working on putting this thing together and bringing us in here. We've had a good time. Got to watch some good high school football. Hey, it's been a good way to spend a Friday night. Had some good talk show nights and got to pick a few winners. So good job.
It's been a fun season, and like you said, you know, we got to thank Dylan for really throwing all this together. But I want to shout out to our 1,027 fans on Facebook. Thank you guys for the likes, and thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for the comments. Those are always enjoyable too.
Fun.
We got a lot of insight.
We want diversity. You know, we want to argue over these games.
We understand. I mean, there was all that talk about maybe going a little bit too far with the power rankings. That's fun. We understand it, and that's just the way it goes. But, yeah, we'd like to thank the 8,000 people that have listened to us on Spreaker, too. It's amazing to think that 8,000 people have sat around and listened to us. Travis probably went back and played it 1,000 times, so we better take 1,000 off.
Hey, I didn't have to listen to it. I lived it.
That's it. That's it. It's been fun this year, guys.
It has, and thanks to Andy Brown. He's not here to cap it off with us. Of course, this may not be the last game. You'll have to stay tuned on the Facebook page. If you're one of those 1,027 people, make sure you hang around because we may be doing some postseason ball.
Hopefully
but we'll see.
We can hit at least a playoff game. That'd
hopefully,
be awesome.
Yeah, hopefully the next playoff, the first round. We'll see, though, but just check back with us on our Facebook page. But we're not done tonight. We got PH Northwood. It'll be game time here at 7:30. It's senior night at Patrick Henry. We'll be back at 7:15. Join us then for the live game broadcast. From Dylan Hutton, Travis DeBusk, Corey Johnson, Will Seidel. This is Hogo Game Day live from Patrick Henry. We'll be back at 7:15.